Do you know how many blood vessels are in the human body? The answer is 250 trillion, with a total length of 96,000 kilometers. However, Ling Ran remembers the position of every blood vessel, so he can always avoid most of them when making incisions during surgery. Originally a 4-hour surgical plan, Ling Ran completes it in less than an hour. Dr. Zhu watches in amazement, as he knows how difficult this plan, which he designed, can be. Ling Ran has already successfully treated 2 athletes with this plan, and if he stays at the medical center, his future is undoubtedly bright. Unexpectedly, he takes a flight back to Manhwa Hospital that afternoon. It's not that he doesn't care about fame and fortune, but the number of beds here has reached its limit. Furthermore, he is currently the only one capable of performing this plan, so he could leave the medical center without worrying about being replaced. As long as there are injured athletes, Dr. Zhu will definitely invite him back. This way, he can perform surgeries at both places, and there's no need to worry about a shortage of patients. When Ling Ran returns to Manhwa Hospital, some patients are discharged, freeing up several beds. Just as he wants to ask the nurse to arrange for surgery for the patients, the emergency department suddenly receives a notice. All doctors report to the rescue room for a Level 3 public incident. A Level 3 public incident refers to a case in which 3 people were either dead or critically injured. Dr. Zhou tells Ling Ran that a robber drove in the wrong direction to escape and collided with the sedan, killing 3 people in the sedan instantly. The robber was severely injured and brought in. No one wants to perform the surgery, thinking it's a waste of medical resources for such a person. Director Hua has no choice but to do it himself. As a former military doctor, he must save anyone, even enemies, once he receives orders. Ling Ran doesn't care as long as there's surgery, so he assists Director Hua. The robber has a leg injury, and after diagnosis, there is no value in saving it. Amputation is the only option. Although Ling Ran hasn't performed an amputation before, it's much simpler than tendon suturing. First, the skin is separated, skin flaps are created, and then the inner and lateral muscles are severed. Finally, the exposed tendons, bones, and adipose tissue are sawed off, and the remaining step is to establish muscle flaps. Ling Ran is familiar with this type of suturing work, and it takes him less than 5 minutes to complete. After the surgery, he checks the ward and finds an uncle who should have been discharged long ago still there. He stayed a few extra days, waiting for Ling Ran to return. Patients who left earlier asked him to express their gratitude to Ling Ran. To his surprise, after sending the uncle away, the system immediately pops up a message. He receives the patient and their family's gratitude reward. There are 11 basic treasure chests. What surprises Ling Ran even more is that he actually gets 2 skill books from them, but they are both suturing techniques used in cosmetic surgery clinics. After checking the wards, Ling Ran counts a total of more than 30 empty beds. Even with temporary beds, there are only 80, so they still need to be used sparingly. Director Hua hurries. Director Hua offers consolation. Don't worry, I'll speed up the application for more beds here. You just focus on performing surgeries. Other doctors break out in a cold sweat. They don't even use 8 beds in a month, while Ling Ran needs more than 80 beds. It's a frustrating comparison. After work, Ling Ran returns home, where his parents have already prepared dinner and have been waiting for a while. Just as he is about to eat, a patient arrives at the clinic. The patient specifically requests Ling Ran to suture their wound, so he hurriedly leaves after taking a few bites. It turns out that a beautiful woman has a cut on her forehead, and a friend recommended Ling Ran for the suturing. At first, she doubts whether this small clinic can provide good suturing, but she is instantly smitten when she sees the handsome Ling Ran. Ling Ran, unfazed, proceeds with the wound cleaning step by step. Then, it's time to choose the sutures. Dr. Miao sees this and tries to stop Ling Ran because in cosmetic medicine, the price is usually discussed first, followed by the customer choosing the sutures. However, by the time Dr. Miao approaches, Ling Ran has already completed the basic suturing in less than 3 seconds. His technique is simply incredible. Dr. Miao swallows his words and watches quietly from the side. Ling Ran slows down when suturing the skin, but his technique is very steady. Initially, the patient's skin was missing a piece, but he also performed a subcutaneous examination using a stretching method to minimize the possibility of scarring after recovery. Dr. Miao behind him watches intently, afraid of missing anything. Ling Ran uses ultra-high-end suturing, and it's unlikely that a second doctor in Manhwa could perform it this way. Dr. Miao, who originally complained about the low salary Ling Ran's father offered, is now willing to stay and learn even if he isn't paid. The wound suturing is completed quickly, and the beautiful woman wants to add Ling Ran on WeChat. However, Ling Ran, with an ironclad straight man response, says, "I only add WeChat of patients who have 3 or more detached fingers." She looks at her fingers and can only give up with a sad face. Ling Ran understands the girl's intentions, but he wants to focus on surgeries, so he uses an excuse to decline. However, he doesn't know that this romantic pursuit has just begun. As soon as he returns to the hospital, Director Hu informs him that a helicopter is about to deliver an important patient. Ling Ran and Dr. Zhao are asked to accompany him to receive the patient. They assume that the patient coming by rescue helicopter must be critically ill. Ling Ran is eager to help, but when the helicopter lands, only a girl steps out, and it's impossible to tell where she is injured. It isn't until she raises her right hand, revealing a finger injured by a corkscrew while opening a bottle of wine. It turns out that the girl is a wealthy heiress, so it's just a minor wound. Director Wu doesn't dare to neglect her and quickly asks Dr. Zhao to examine her. However, she doesn't even look at him and instead points to Ling Ran, who isn't far away. She says, "He's a doctor too, right? I want him to bandage my wound," and then blushes as she introduces herself. "Hi, my name is Tianqi, the 7th child in my family." Ling Ran replies with his name, wanting to deal with the wound quickly and leave. Unexpectedly, Tianqi completely forgets about her injury and starts chatting about various topics. Fortunately, Dr. Zhao intervenes and reminds her that her injury needs to be treated before they can chat. After some persuasion, they take her to the treatment room. For Ling Ran, treating a small cut like this is very simple. All he needs to do is clean it and suture it with fine thread. After finishing, Ling Ran quickly finds an excuse to leave. He thinks the matter is over, but little does he know that Tianqi has already instructed her assistant to investigate his background. They find out that his parents are alive and well, living in Xiago. Although he's just an intern, his monthly income exceeds 50,000, higher than many senior doctors, with savings of around 100,000. He doesn't own a house but has a second-hand car. Normally, the assistant would report this information to her boss at the company, but seeing the infatuated look on Tianqi's face and considering Ling Ran's potential as her future boyfriend, the assistant not only keeps this information a secret but also helps Tianqi come up with a plan. Ling Ran's car is second-hand and prone to breakdowns, so they create an accident. The next day at 4 a.m., when Ling Ran is about to go to work, he finds his car won't, so he has to call a ride-hailing service. As soon as he places the order, a Rolls-Royce pulls up in front of him, with the driver being none other than the wealthy heiress, Tianqi. Although Ling Ran is puzzled, there is a patient awaiting surgery at the hospital, and he doesn't have time to think too much. He hurriedly gets in the car. Tianqi sees that Ling Ran is in a hurry, so she steps on the gas and speeds off. A trip that usually takes half an hour is completed in just 10 minutes. Just as Ling Ran is about to pay for the ride, Tianqi takes out her phone and suggests that he transfers the money directly to her. That way, she doesn't need to take a commission, and he can message her directly when he needs a ride home from work. Ling Ran is puzzled, wondering if the wealthy heiress really needs the money. Still, he adds her contact, unknowingly walking into a trap. When it's time to finish work, Ling Ran is about to message Tianqi, but the anesthesiologist suggests they go out for a gathering since they don't have to work overtime today. Ling Ran tells Tianqi not to wait for him as he has plans, and he hails a random car to go to a barbecue. His ride-hailing app immediately shows that a driver named Tian has accepted the order. Ling Ran assumes it's a coincidence, but when the car window rolls down, it's indeed Tianqi, only this time driving a luxury car. Tianqi quickly explains that she's been taking orders near the hospital all along, and Ling Ran believes her. The anesthesiologist gives a knowing look but remains silent. They all decide to ride in Tianqi's car while others take another vehicle. Halfway to their destination, Director Wu suddenly calls, informing them of a major public safety incident and asking them to return immediately. Tianqi hears this and makes a sharp U-turn, assuring that they will be back as soon as possible. Once they arrive at the hospital, she follows Ling Ran closely, curious to see what's going on. Dr. Zhou teases Ling Ran, saying it's rare to see someone working overtime with a beautiful woman from a helicopter by their side. Ling Ran ignores him and focuses on the patient's condition. It turns out there was a carjacking incident, leaving one hijacker dead and 3 injured. The injured were sent to the military hospital. They are supposed to save a severely injured police officer, and the higher-ups have ordered that they do everything possible to save him. However, the patient has lost too much blood and has already received 20 units of blood transfusion. They still can't find the source of the bleeding, so they have to call Ling Ran back. The patient is quickly brought to the hospital, and Ling Ran immediately starts examining him. He finds that the bleeding is coming from inside the body, so he quickly makes an incision in the abdomen and uses his fingers to check for internal injuries. But strangely, after searching for a while, he can't find any wounds. Director Hu immediately orders an assistant to release the gas from the lungs and observe the marrow. Next, they check the stomach and quickly find a 1 centimeter long wound. The assistant immediately performs an inversion suture and repair, but the bleeding doesn't improve, which means there's another source of bleeding. Ling Ran then finds several holes on both sides of the abdomen, but none are the real source of bleeding. Director Hu has no choice but to call an imaging specialist to examine the patient, hoping they can find the source. As time ticks away, the patient has passed the golden window for rescue, and any further delay will undoubtedly result in death. Ling Ran grits his teeth and decides to use the blue potion. As soon as he drinks it, the system immediately prompts that all his skills are increased by 1 point, lasting for 2 hours. The originally perfect level skills of barehanded hemostasis, tendon suturing, and finder replantation all break through to the legendary level. However, the system still shows his barehanded hemostasis skill is ranked second, behind its creator, Adam Lowe Davis. But Ling Ran doesn't have time to worry about that now, as he quickly initiates the legendary level barehanded hemostasis. He soon finds several small wounds in the abdomen and decides to suture them himself to speed things up. But the machine still indicates significant bleeding. Having examined all the exposed parts, the remaining source of bleeding can only be under an organ. Ling Ran first thinks of the liver but is stopped by Dr. Zhao just as he's about to check, as he has just sutured the left side of the liver, and moving it may cause secondary damage. While they're at an impasse, Director Hu tells them there's no time to waste and to check carefully. Ling Ran proceeds decisively, and with his legendary level barehanded hemostasis, he won't damage the organs. The moment he lifts the liver, a stream of blood gushes out like a fountain, and the machine sounds an alarm. The increased speed of blood loss indicates the bleeding source is under the left liver lobe, but it's been hidden by pressure, so it wasn't visible. Ling Ran immediately performs a perfect level suture and repairs the wound in less than 30 seconds. At the same time, the machine stops the alarm, and everyone breathes a sigh of relief, as the patient's life is saved. Director Hu immediately instructs Ling Ran to rinse the abdominal cavity, and then perform an official closure. However, at this moment, Ling Ran finds that the patient's hepatic portal is larger than when he was arguing with Dr. Zhao earlier. He carefully examines it and discovers a rupture below, which might have been caused by a blood clot pressing on the liver portal. He quickly sutures it with a thread. Director Hu is immediately frightened, breaking into a cold sweat. If they leave such a huge hidden danger, the patient might not survive the night. For safety, he personally checks everything again and, after confirming that there are no issues, he hands over the official closure work to Ling Ran. With his perfect level suturing skills, Ling Ran's hands move like a sewing machine, dancing between the wounds. In the blink of an eye, the suturing is complete. Tianqi has been waiting at the operating room door for a long time, wanting to invite Ling Ran out for a drink, but he doesn't even look at her. Instead, he orders Lu Wenbin to quickly find a patient with a ruptured Achilles tendon for emergency treatment, or someone from orthopedics if they can't find one. That's because his legendary level skills have only 28 minutes left, and he can't waste them. Tianqi, who is ignored, is instantly upset, but on second thought, isn't this the kind of doctor she likes? So she decides to wait for Ling Ran to finish work. 5 minutes later, Lu Wenbin brings over a patient from orthopedics, and with not much time left for the potion, Ling Ran immediately uses his perfect level MRI reading skill. Indeed, he can see more details than with the master level skill, and he can't help but smile, which upsets the patient. The patient asks if his Achilles tendon is laughable compared to Lu Weichen's. Ling Ran hurriedly explains that Lu Weichen's is twice as long as the average person's, while his is only approximately 2/3 the average length. But after saying this, he realizes that the patient is under anesthesia and might be slightly confused. To avoid disturbing the surgery, he immediately asks the anesthesiologist to administer general anesthesia. After the anesthesia takes effect, Ling Ran quickly performs the legendary level Achilles tendon suturing. A surgery that would normally take 2 hours is completed in less than 20 minutes, leaving everyone in the room astonished. What no one knows, however, is that an even more shocking event is about to happen. Tianqi, in pursuit of Ling Ran, has incredibly spent tens of millions to buy a pharmaceutical company. She immediately convenes a staff meeting and asks only one question: who is in charge of Yunhua Hospital's business? A girl is instantly frightened and breaks into a cold sweat, as her work with Yunhua Hospital hasn't been going well, and she thinks she will be fired. Instead, Tianqi kindly calls her into the office, asks for the Yunhua Hospital work group, and discovers that it really discusses Ling Ran's various hobbies. Tianqi's eyes light up, and she tells the girl that she wants her phone. The girl should go to finance, collect 13,000 to buy a new one, and then receive a year's bonus. The girl is completely shocked, not understanding the situation. Meanwhile, in the hospital, Ling Ran, who is unaware that he has caught the attention of a wealthy heir, is still working tirelessly on surgeries. Although Ling Ran has been quite restrained, the nurse informs him after a few days that 101 beds are almost used up, and some flexible beds must be left in the emergency department. Ling Ran has no choice but to go to the emergency room to see if he can squeeze in 1 or 2 more surgeries. As he leaves, the system suddenly alerts him that he has received 20 patient gratitude reward boxes, and the number is still increasing. Ling Ran is puzzled, as patients usually receive these upon discharge. Little does he know that the news of him performing surgery on the celebrity Li Yuweichen has spread throughout the hospital. In the emergency department's wards, patients can't believe that such a skilled doctor is performing their surgeries, and they feel extremely grateful. Seeing the increasing number of reward boxes, Ling Ran decides to open them all at once, and to his surprise, he finds a skill book on perfect level tracheotomy, a technique commonly used in the emergency department and ICU. However, in China, young doctors don't have many opportunities to perform tracheotomies, and practicing the skill largely depends on luck. Ling Ran casually asks about his surgery rankings, and the system immediately displays that he ranks 765th for pencil grip style surgery and 558th for holding tool style surgery in Yunhua. With such good rankings, he estimates that he won't have a chance to perform a tracheotomy in his lifetime. The system had previously suggested that performing more surgeries would improve his ranking, but now he doesn't even have the opportunity to try. Does he have to buy a piece of meat to practice at home? Then the system pops up a dialog box saying that this is a good method, leaving Ling Ran speechless. Just as he doesn't know what to do, the system suddenly issues a mission to treat a police dog named Chestnut, with a reward of 6 basic treasure chests. It turns out that a patient arrives at the emergency department who is a drug enforcement officer. Although her leg is severely injured, she keeps shouting to save her drug-sniffing dog first. The dog was attacked by criminals on its neck and is about to die. Before finishing her words, the officer faints from exhaustion. Ling Ran immediately asks the nurse to send her to Dr. Zhou and to leave the drug-sniffing dog to himself. Although he is skilled at performing surgery on humans, this is his first time operating on a dog, and he doesn't even know what anesthetic to use. Luckily, the anesthesiologist has a dog at home and has some knowledge in this area. While the anesthesiologist is preparing the medication, Ling Ran uses a stethoscope to check the dog's breathing, which is 14 times per minute. But how many times per minute is normal for a dog? Fortunately, the assistant quickly looks it up online and finds that it is generally 20 to 30 times. So, the dog's breathing is currently too slow, and they must immediately perform a tracheotomy and administer fluids. However, Ling Ran doesn't even know what the first step is. So, he has to follow the anesthesiologist's instructions for the subsequent steps. After the general anesthesia takes effect, they first shave the hair around the dog's neck, and then begin the tracheotomy procedure, which is similar to that performed on humans. Although it is his first time performing a tracheotomy, and on a dog no less, the process goes relatively smoothly with the help of his perfect skill. However, the senior attending physician on the side is nervous, ready to step in and help Ling Ran at any moment, as a poorly executed tracheotomy can leave many complications. But his concerns turn out to be unfounded. In less than 10 minutes, Ling Ran skillfully inserts the tracheal tube and connects it to oxygen. The drug-sniffing dog's breathing quickly returns to normal, and the senior attending physician can't help but wonder if Ling Ran has secretly practiced before. When he learns that Ling Ran just mastered the skill, he feels a momentary imbalance in his mind. "You really are a genius, able to learn anything quickly," the senior attending physician says, but Ling Ran doesn't have time to engage in a conversation as he quickly tends to the dog's other wounds. If the dog loses too much blood, the hospital doesn't have blood transfusions available for dogs. Finally, after 2 hours, they successfully saved the life of the drug-sniffing dog, Chestnut. Ling Ran breathes a sigh of relief, but while he is happy, 2 nurses have worried expressions. How should they deal with all the dog hair in the operating room? Ling Ran wants to help, but Director Hu takes him away for an interview. It turns out that the police department sent a banner to express their gratitude for saving the police dog's life, but Ling Ran can't find any happiness in it. Just now, he checked the system to see if his surgical ranking had increased after completing the surgery, but the system showed that his ranking in Yunhua City had dropped by 1 place. Frightened, Ling Ran hurriedly asks Director Hu for more surgeries, but all the emergency department's beds are occupied, leaving no room for surgery patients. Just as Director Hu is worried, Dr. Zhu suddenly calls. His medical center is preparing to host an international medical conference to promote the surgical plan used for Lu Weichen last time and wants to invite Ling Ran as a guest. Director Hu agrees without hesitation, as Ling Ran is currently idle. However, fearing that Dr. Zhu might steal Ling Ran away, Director Hu sends Yu Yuan along with him and repeatedly warns no one to get too close to Ling Ran. If Ling Ran doesn't return, Yu Yuan shouldn't come back either. This leads to the following scene. Lu Weichen comes to pick up Ling Ran, but as soon as he gets close, Yu Yuan blocks his path, questioning his motives and which organization he represents. The 3 fall into silence until Lu Weichen reveals that he represents the General Administration of Sports, and they realize it was a misunderstanding. Ling Ran is puzzled though. Shouldn't someone from the medical center be picking him up? Lu Weichen hurriedly explains that he recently started rehabilitation training and wants to participate in some competitions, but doesn't know if running at full speed will cause any problems, so he wants to consult Ling Ran. Ling Ran initially wants to decline, citing the lack of equipment for examination and the fact that Lu Weichen is Dr. Zhu's patient, making it inappropriate for him to intervene. However, Lu Weichen already has all the MRI scans recorded on his phone, so Ling Ran reluctantly checks them and finds that the Achilles tendon hasn't fully healed. He advises against participating in high-intensity competitions, as another rupture could have severe consequences, potentially ending Lu Weichen's professional career prematurely. Lu Weichen breaks out in a cold sweat, feeling fortunate that he consulted Ling Ran in advance, otherwise he would have been in big trouble. He quickly gets up to express his gratitude, and even leaves his car and driver behind for Ling Ran's convenience while traveling in Shanghai. Ling Ran goes straight to the medical center, where he unexpectedly encounters a surgery in progress. When he hears it's a hip joint replacement surgery, he insists on observing. Hip joint replacement surgery is considered top-notch in orthopedics, involving many advanced aspects such as a large surgical field, large artificial prostheses, and highly complex medical equipment. Such surgeries are rarely performed in Yunhua Hospital, so this is a rare opportunity. What excites Ling Ran even more is that Dr. Ji, the lead surgeon, allows him to assist, which is the best way to learn. Although Ling Ran appears inexperienced throughout the joint replacement surgery, Dr. Ji greatly admires his attitude. Ling Ran has already reached the top level in some surgeries, yet he still learns like a student, which is very admirable for a doctor. Dr. Ji entrusts the subsequent suturing to Ling Ran. The surgery ends quickly, but Ling Ran is eager for more, asking when the next one will start. However, since Ling Ran was invited to the conference by Dr. Zhu, Dr. Ji only arranges 1 surgery per day for him. As Ling Ran worries, he suddenly hears a familiar dog barking behind him. It's the police dog, Chestnut. It turns out she and a female police officer have been assigned to work here. Just as Ling Ran is about to check on her recovery, Yu Yuan unexpectedly appears again. The female police officer awkwardly leaves, and Ling Ran spends the whole day barely speaking to anyone other than during surgery. Upset, he decides not to go out for dinner and orders takeout instead. The moment his order is placed, someone knocks on his door. It turns out Ling Ran has won the restaurant's 5-star ultimate prize, which includes a free meal worth 188,000. As Ling Ran looks puzzled, a familiar figure appears. Dr. Lin, what a coincidence that you're in Shanghai too. This restaurant is my family business, and I came to see you when I noticed your takeout order. Ling Ran senses something is off, but Tianqi quickly changes the subject. After dinner, Ling Ran mentions that he has plans to play video games with friends in the afternoon. Upon hearing this, Tianqi hurriedly makes an excuse to leave since video games are her weakness, and she doesn't want to expose it. However, she believes that Ling Ran, being a doctor, must have other hobbies. The next day, she sends a gift that will astonish Ling Ran for an entire year. Ling Ran receives a corpse as a gift, and instead of being scared, he shows a surprised and delighted expression. And in domestic clinical medicine, there is only one cadaver for every 10 doctors to dissect on average. Owning a cadaver is a luxury. Ling Ran, of course, doesn't have such influence. It's all thanks to Tianli, a wealthy woman who had her family foundation lead donations to several universities in Shanghai, which allowed Ling Ran to obtain a cadaver. Ling Ran doesn't even express his thanks. He quickly changes his clothes and starts dissecting the body. In a few days, he has to perform a tendon surgery demonstration for international doctors. Although he has a system, the surgery must follow a fixed model. Having enough dissection experience allows him to improve the surgical plan. In the following days, he cancels all his surgeries and works tirelessly in the dissection room. When Dr. Zhu returns from an out-of-town conference and hears Ling Ran is still in the dissection room, he quickly asks Dr. Chu to call him out. Today is the opening of the International Sports Orthopedics Academic Conference, and there is a demonstration surgery to be performed. Just as Dr. Chu opens the door and is about to speak, he is pulled into the dissection room. Ling Ran pushes him onto a chair, uses his massage skills to examine the shape of Dr. Chu's cervical spine, and then looks at the dissected body on the bed. Dr. Chu finally understands that Ling Ran is comparing him to the cadaver. He quickly gets up and explains that the opening ceremony surgery is already arranged, and it will be recorded, so they need to go and prepare. Ling Ran is nonchalant, saying he wants to dissect a bit more. After much persuasion, Dr. Chu finally gets Ling Ran to the operating room 5 minutes before the surgery starts. This time, the patient is a 27-year-old fencer who was knocked down by a husky while walking his dog, resulting in a ruptured tendon. After confirming the diagnosis, Ling Ran begins the surgery without hesitation. Due to his continuous dissections, Ling Ran's understanding of the tendon has reached a new level. His movements are more skillful than before. Dr. Ji watches in astonishment, having seen many talented lead surgeons, but this is the first time he has seen one grow so much in just a few days. The other doctors witnessing Ling Ran's surgery for the first time are also amazed by the speed of the procedure. In less than an hour, the surgery is completed, and the suturing results are on par with top-notch doctors. As soon as Ling Ran walks out of the operating room, dozens of foreign doctor representatives surround him, introducing themselves, greeting him, and congratulating Dr. Zhu, who is overjoyed. Ling Ran is one of the best young doctors in the country, skilled in both tendon repair and other surgeries. Although Dr. Zhu bestows many titles on Ling Ran, he deliberately doesn't mention Manhwa Hospital, as he wants to recruit Ling Ran through the conference. However, to everyone's surprise, a woman suddenly rushes out from the crowd, excitedly shaking Ling Ran's hand. "Hello, Dr. Lin, I'm Dr. Cardella, an orthopedic specialist at Mayo Clinic. You're always welcome to visit and study at Mayo Clinic." She hands him a business card, and everyone present is shocked. Receiving an invitation from the world's #1 Mayo Clinic after just one surgery is an extraordinary honor. Just as everyone thinks Ling Ran will accept, he takes the card and says, "Thank you." The woman still maintains her smile, wanting to persuade him further, but she's interrupted by a dog barking. It's the police dog Chestnut again. It turns out a female officer is assigned to maintain order at the conference venue. Dr. Zhu quickly seizes the opportunity to lead the international doctors to the conference room. However, an unexpected young doctor intercepts Ling Ran halfway. He isn't there to deliver an invitation but wants to see the patient whom Ling Ran has healed. Ling Ran calls an athlete and Xiaofeng, and upon hearing Ling Ran's request for a follow-up, they arrive at the hospital in less than 10 minutes. When they see only the foreign doctor, their faces fall, as the athlete has just finished a competition and wanted to share the good news with Ling Ran, but he's not there. However, since it's Dr. Lin's invitation, they cooperate and undergo an MRI. The results come out quickly, and the foreign doctor's face is full of astonishment after seeing them. This isn't just good condition, it's something that would even surprise God. The athlete's recovery in 1 month is comparable to others' 6-month recovery. Moreover, this athlete just won a bronze medal in a track and field competition a few days ago. At this time, Ling Ran suddenly receives a system message and is awarded a prize for peer approval. Upon automatically opening a basic treasure chest, he unexpectedly obtains 2 skills: semilunar cartilage shaping technique and joint surgery. What confuses Ling Ran is that the system generally grants skills that can be used quickly. However, the skills he received this time seem irrelevant. As he mutters to himself, the foreign doctor approaches him with a grin. "Dr. Lin, are you interested in performing a semilunar cartilage shaping surgery? If you're interested, you can visit our country." Upon hearing this, Dr. G becomes uneasy, as this is an attempt to poach Ling Ran right in front of him. He quickly pushes the foreign doctor aside, holds Ling Ran's hand affectionately, and asks, "Don't you want to do joint replacement surgery anymore?" "No problem, our medical center also performs joint surgeries. After all, it's more convenient to do surgery in our country, right?" Unexpectedly, the foreign doctor nods and agrees, saying that if Ling Ran doesn't want to go abroad, he can arrange for the patient to be sent over. Dr. G breaks into a cold sweat, as this is the first time he's seen such determination to recruit Ling Ran. So he resorts to his trump card. "I have an athlete who needs Achilles tendon rupture surgery right now, and I can arrange it for Dr. Lin immediately." Upon hearing there's surgery to perform, Ling Ran's attention is immediately diverted. However, the foreign doctor is not giving up, setting up a camera in the operating room, wanting to live stream Ling Ran's surgery to the world. "Hello everyone. Today's patient is a famous Chinese weightlifter who has won provincial championships. The young chief surgeon performing the Achilles tendon repair surgery has performed over 400 surgeries without a single failure." As they're talking, they suddenly receive a message telling them to be quiet and focus the camera on the surgical area. The foreign doctor is shocked because the message is from his internationally renowned teacher who is also watching the live stream. Startled, he immediately quiets down and starts filming the surgery process in silence. Meanwhile, in a conference room, someone turns on a monitor, displaying Ling Ran's surgery. Doctors from various countries show surprised expressions, wondering if the complex operation is being performed as a demonstration by an assistant doctor. The informed Mayo Clinic chief surgeon quickly verifies the surgical plan. While the resident doctor's plan is correct, the chief surgeon is actually an intern. Upon hearing this, everyone becomes uneasy, as the intern is so impressive and undoubtedly a genius. As soon as the surgery ends, they all crowd around the operating room door. A black doctor even hands over a patient directly, hoping Ling Ran can treat their athlete. If it's not convenient to go abroad, he can send the patient over. Ling Ran checks the MRI scans and nods after confirming that there are no issues. He can treat the patient using a chief doctor's plan, which is riskier than a standard surgery but allows for recovery in just 4 months. However, Ling Ran doesn't immediately agree but looks towards Dr. G, considering that this is their territory. Little does he know that Dr. G is already overjoyed, as this is the best publicity for their medical center, and he's even planning to invite journalists to cover the surgery process. A few days later, the patient is brought over by the black doctor. In order to ensure the surgery is foolproof, they spend a day consulting. Soon, the patient is wheeled into the operating room, but before the surgery begins, the patient suddenly starts crying. It turns out he comes from a poor background, and his entire family relies on his sports career to make a living. If the surgery fails, he wouldn't be able to go on living. Ling Ran quickly hands him a piece of paper, reassuring him. "Don't worry, I have performed over 100 Achilles tendon surgeries and have never failed." Unexpectedly, as soon as he finishes speaking, the system notifies him that he has received a gratitude reward from the patient, 100 anatomical experiences. When the experience enters his brain, Ling Ran suddenly has a flash of inspiration and wants to change the surgical plan on the spot, but Dr. G becomes terrified. There are hundreds of foreign doctors watching outside, and if there's an issue with the temporary change of plan, their careers could come to an abrupt end. Ling Ran performs surgery on the athlete, but the incision is off by 5 centimeters. The doctors nearby are instantly terrified, as this could be considered a medical accident. However, Ling Ran remains calm because he intentionally made the cut at an angle. Although the incision may not look great, it maximizes the avoidance of blood vessels. Hundreds of experts watching through the monitor are left wide-eyed. According to their experience, the traditional incision method results in a blood loss of around 150 to 200 milliliters, but Ling Ran's surgery only results in a blood loss of about 45 milliliters, which is a significant breakthrough in the medical field. It not only reduces the patient's blood loss but also preserves the blood vessel network to the greatest extent, significantly shortening the patient's recovery time. Soon, the surgery ends, and upon waking up, Morris learns of the successful surgery and immediately bursts into tears. His family is poor and depends on his sports career to make a living. If his leg injury isn't treated, they will soon lose their source of income. Just as Ling Ran is about to comfort him, the system suddenly sends a message that he has received a gratitude reward treasure chest from the patient. Ling Ran has never seen multiple gratitude treasure chests from the same person before. What surprises him even more is that after comforting Morris for a few moments, the system pops up another gratitude treasure chest, which seems a bit excessive. However, he doesn't have time to open them now, as his innovative Achilles tendon surgery technique is worthy of a research paper. However, since the entire surgical plan was devised by the chief doctor, it wouldn't be appropriate for him to write the paper alone. Just as he's conflicted, Dr. Yu suddenly enters, saying another doctor referred a patient to him, a domestic long jumper with a completely ruptured Achilles tendon. Ling Ran decisively puts the paper aside, prioritizing the surgery. He works tirelessly on surgeries day and night. Morris gives interviews to journalists from multiple countries, and when they ask him how he would evaluate Ling Ran, he simply replies, "You can always trust Dr. Ling Ran." This statement instantly goes viral online. Soon, people reveal that Ling Ran has also performed surgeries on athletes like Lu Weichen, leading to a nationwide trend of seeking surgery from Dr. Lin. In just a week, the outpatient department of the Yuhan City Medical Center is packed with patients. Unaware of the situation, Ling Ran is still preoccupied with the research paper. Unbeknownst to him, the chief doctor had already arranged the paper, attributing 3/4 to his surgical plan and 1/4 to his surgical technique, preparing to submit it to the Chinese Orthopedic Journal and listing them as co-first authors. Just as Ling Ran is surprised, Dr. Ji delivers his salary slip. All the surgery fees are calculated at the director level, but he can't pay the social insurance and housing fund due to his temporary status. Ling Ran doesn't care, as he will return to Manhwa Hospital in due time. The medical center only focuses on bone and joint and sports medicine patients, which is too narrow for him, leaving Dr. Ji feeling awkward. If it were due to his negligence that Ling Ran left, the chief doctor would be extremely upset. So, he quickly changes the subject. "The patients who came to the hospital because of your reputation are already arranged, and you can start the surgeries anytime," he says before hurriedly leaving. Ling Ran puts down the paper and prepares to go to the medical center, but as soon as he goes downstairs, he runs into Director Hua. He is there to attend a meeting, but when Ling Ran asks what the meeting is about, Director Hua mistakenly reads the wrong name from his notes. Ling Ran immediately understands that the director is worried he won't want to return if he stays at the medical center too long. He promises to finish treating the medical center's patients within a week. Director Hua shows a satisfied smile. "My meeting will also be over next week, so let's go back together." As soon as Ling Ran arrives at the medical center, he begins reviewing medical records, transferring unsuitable patients to other departments, and asking Dr. Ji to fill his surgery schedule without any gaps. Dr. Ji senses something is wrong and, after inquiring, learns that Director Hua has come to take Ling Ran back. He racks his brains to persuade him to stay. "Think about it, Manhwa Hospital, along with the Provincial Hospital and Military General Hospital, combined, can't compete with just one strong hospital in Shanghai City. If you stay here and develop your career, within 10 or 8 years, you could be the top in the domestic medical field." Although Ling Ran only nods, he says, "I have my own plans. By next week, I'll be able to fill the medical center's beds." Upon hearing this, Dr. Ji immediately seizes the opportunity. "If there are still empty beds, does that mean you won't leave?" After getting an affirmative response from Ling Ran, he quickly applies to the higher-ups, adding 500 more beds. Ling Ran just entered a top-tier hospital and is assigned to perform 500 surgeries in a row without leaving work until they are all filled. The doctor originally thought this would keep Ling Ran at the hospital, but Ling Ran manages to perform 44 surgeries in just one day and shows no signs of stopping. It is known that even experienced surgeons take 2 to 3 hours to complete a tendon repair surgery, but Ling Ran can finish it in just 30 minutes. At this pace, there won't be enough beds within a week, and Ling Ran will definitely leave the medical center due to a lack of surgeries. So, they quickly arrange for more beds, turning all the 2-person rooms into 4-person rooms. But unexpectedly, Ling Ran's speed keeps increasing, and within a few days, there aren't enough beds again. Dr. Ji is very troubled, as he can't just turn the 4-person rooms into 6-person rooms. At this point, a nurse suggests that if they had beds in the hallway, they can fit more than 100 additional beds. So, Dr. G quickly contacts a medical supply company to order more beds. However, before the beds are in place, an accident occurs in the operating room. Ling Ran, thanks to an energy potion, is able to perform surgeries for 24 hours straight without rest, but the assistant can't keep up. Although they have arranged for 3 teams to take turns, each team still has to follow 10 or more surgeries every day. Soon, several people faint, but Ling Ran doesn't even look at them and continues to complete the surgeries alone. His time is running out, and the system issues a task to fill all the beds in the medical center within a week. But now, 6 days have passed, and he has only completed 85% of the task. So, he drinks a few more bottles of the energy potion and speeds up again. Finally, he completes the task in the last 2 hours, and the system immediately announces the end of the mission, rewarding him with an intermediate treasure chest. He can't wait to open it, and sure enough, it contains another skill book. This perfect skill level is not limited to reading X-rays of limbs compared to MRI scans, and its level has reached perfection. Just as Ling Ran looks pleasantly surprised, Dr. G suddenly appears. Dr. Lin, why don't you take a few days off in Shanghai? Our new beds will arrive soon and be ready for use. And many patients have traveled far just to have you perform their surgeries. It's not appropriate to leave just like that, is it? But before he finishes speaking, another voice interrupts. It's fine, just transfer them all to my Manhwa hospital. It turns out that Director Hua has come to pick up Ling Ran. After all, Ling Ran is still an intern and hasn't signed a formal contract. If someone snatches him away, it's over. But Dr. G hasn't given up on the idea of recruiting Ling Ran. That night, he secretly knocks on Ling Ran's door. But before he can say anything, Ling Ran interrupts. Dr. G, don't worry. I'm not leaving forever. Once the beds at Manhwa Hospital are full, I'll come back to the medical center. With this assurance, Dr. G finally agrees to let him leave. The nurses at Manhwa Hospital hear that Ling Ran is returning and are all overjoyed. As soon as Ling Ran gets off the plane, he enters the operating room because there are already hundreds of transferred patients waiting for him. However, these patients are all accepted under the name of the medical center. In order to promote Manhwa Hospital, Director Hua quickly finds a journalist and grants them special permission to enter the operating room to take close-up shots of Ling Ran. The next day, the story makes the headlines of the provincial television station. Many foreign patients travel a long way to Manhwa Hospital for treatment, and Dr. Ling Ran's achievements in the field of medicine soon attract another wave of patients seeking his help. Afraid that they won't be able to keep up, Director Hua prepares to establish a special medical team centered around Ling Ran, extending an olive branch to other departments besides Lu Wenbin and the external hospital staff. When they hear about the opportunity to work closely with Ling Ran's surgeries, they eagerly accept, despite the exhausting workload. The doctors who assist Ling Ran in surgery are all making a lot of money. Lu Wenbin, who is still a resident, has already bought a new house and a new car. However, this move is met with strong opposition from the leaders of other departments, and the issue is even brought to the dean's office. Although the dean values Ling Ran, disrupting the normal operation of other departments isn't ideal, so they have to transfer staff from elsewhere. The next day, a 40-year-old middle-aged doctor named Wasi arrives at the emergency department. He used to work at a rural hospital, and when he discovers that his direct superior is a young person in their 20s, he is overjoyed. He thinks that serving such a golden opportunity in the hospital will be easy, and that flattering Ling Ran a bit will undoubtedly lead to a promotion. A man invites his leader to dinner but accidentally finds his wife in the leader's room, making him so angry that he divorces her on the spot. He then uses his connections to transfer from a rural hospital to a top-tier hospital in the provincial city, swearing to make a name for himself and take revenge. What he doesn't expect is that upon arriving at Manhwa Hospital, he is assigned to the special medical team, and his boss is a young person in their 20s who seems to be there to gain experience. He believes that if he flatters his boss well, he will definitely get a promotion and a raise. However, when he enters the operating room, he is quickly astonished. Although Ling Ran looks young, his surgical skills are on par with experienced surgeons with over 50 years of experience, which excites him even more. Since such expert-level learning opportunities might not come even once in several years, he decides not to miss any of Ling Ran's surgeries. Little does he know that Ling Ran's surgical workload is several times that of an average doctor. In just one morning, there are 4 consecutive surgeries, and by the third surgery, Swiss CI is already so tired that his legs are weak, and he has to be replaced to rest. Fearing Ling Ran's disapproval, he quickly uses the skills he learned in the rural hospital. He learns that Ling Ran doesn't have time to go out for lunch, so he orders a takeaway and delivers it to him. However, Tianqi has already prepared an 188,000 yuan supreme meal set for him. Swissi's takeaway pales in comparison, and just as he feels dejected, Ling Ran suddenly invites him to eat together. Looking at his warm and gentle smile, Swiss CI feels warmth in his heart. Perhaps Dr. Lin is different from other leaders. As expected in the afternoon when making rounds, Ling Ran doesn't act like an expert and chats very kindly with the patients. So, he secretly swears to work hard alongside Ling Ran. In the following days, Ling Ran's surgeries become more and more frequent because the hospital in Shuchen wants him to perform surgeries, so he must complete all the surgeries beforehand. Originally, Director Wang only wanted to send Ling Ran and Yuan, but Swiss CI insists on going with them, even offering to cover his own expenses just for the opportunity to learn. Director Wang initially wants to refuse, but when he sees Ling Ran nodding, he doesn't say anything more. Ling Ran thinks that bringing him along would mean having an extra assistant, and he turns out to be very useful. When they arrive at Shuchen Hospital, the hospital director personally welcomes them and enthusiastically shakes Ling Ran's hand. However, with a 30-year age difference, they have nothing to talk about. Just as the situation becomes awkward, Swiss CI quickly breaks the ice, suggesting that they should first check on the patients, and they can chat after the surgery. Ling Ran and the director both sigh in relief. After understanding the condition of 3 patients with fractures, the surgery begins quickly, and all the orthopedic doctors at Shuchen Hospital are arranged to observe from outside the window. When they see Ling Ran making a large incision, they question whether it will affect the healing process. However, they quickly close their mouths, because the amount of bleeding and the process of suturing are the most top-notch they have ever seen. The 3 surgeries end successfully, taking less than 5 hours in total. Just as Ling Ran is preparing to change clothes, he suddenly comes across the director holding a patient's arthroscopic meniscus reshaping surgery file. Ling Ran had acquired this skill last time, so he wants to take a look. Swiss CI quickly reminds him that this doesn't quite conform to the rules. However, the director doesn't mind at all, and even invites him to perform the surgery. The doctor thinks Ling Ran just wants to learn, so during the surgery, he starts explaining the knowledge of meniscus reshaping under arthroscopy. Unexpectedly, Ling Ran is able to propose some superior surgical plans for the patient, and even throughout the surgery, he doesn't need the lead surgeon to speak. He can predict the next step of the operation in advance, which greatly accelerates the progress of the surgery. This leaves the lead surgeon in awe. After the surgery is completed, the doctor jokingly says that if he knew earlier that Dr. Lin had this skill, he would have also given the arthroscopic surgery to him. But Ling Ran takes it seriously and says, "I will do the rest." Because he sees that there are several more patients with close joints, the lead surgeon has no choice but to let Ling Ran proceed, but he is still a bit worried. Because the joints are close, there is a puncture operation in the surgery that is very difficult. The movements are small, but the depth each patient needs to be punctured varies, so it requires a lot of practice and personal understanding. Although Ling Ran's theory sounded convincing just now, he is still young and probably doesn't have much experience.